Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're your shortcut to getting well-informed, taking a whole stack of sources and boiling them down to the key nuggets. You get the surprising bits, maybe a little humor, just enough to keep things interesting. Today we're tackling something really profound. A surah many of us know, maybe even by heart, Yasin, often called the heart of the Qur'an.
That's right.
You've probably recited it, maybe for specific reasons, but what if we went beyond just reciting it to really get its depth?
And that's exactly what we're aiming for today. We've looked at several different scholarly analyses of Surah Yasin, trying to pull out the key insights, those moments that make you go, aha.
Right.
The idea is to move from just reading to, a richer, more reflective kind of engagement. We want to help unlock the real significance, the wisdom packed in there, moving beyond maybe the traditional understanding to something deeper for you.
Okay, so to really get into Surah Yasin, we have to start right at the beginning, don't we? Those opening verses 1 to 4. What's the crucial background there?
Yeah, absolutely. It's really important to know that Surah Yasin is Makkiyah.
Makkiyah, okay. Meaning
Meaning it was revealed in Mecca. This was before the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, migrated to Medina. And knowing that tells us a lot about who it was first speaking to.
which was primarily...
The polytheistic Quraysh, the people in Mecca at that time.
Gotcha. So given that audience, what were the big issues, the core beliefs it needed to tackle head on?
Exactly. It zeroed in on the foundational stuff they were denying, things like the absolute oneness of Allah Tawheed, the truth of Prophet Muhammad as a messenger, and crucially, the reality of the Day of Judgment.
All things they were pushing back against.
Pretty much, yeah. They actively rejected these ideas, so the surah needed to affirm them clearly and powerfully.
Okay, that really sets the scene. Now that opening itself, Yasin, just those two letters, it's not the only time the Quran starts like this, with these huruf muqatta.
Right, like Alif Lam Mim, the Kafaya Ain Sad, these mysterious letters.
So what do scholars say? What's the deal with Yasin?
Well, it's definitely something scholars have discussed a lot. You'll find some suggestions, maybe based on narrations that aren't always seen as the most reliable, that Yasin is a name for the prophet, or it means, oh man.
But that's not the main view.
No, the stronger view, the one held by major scholars like Imam, Ibn Kathir, Ibn Taymiyyah, is that these letters, well, they don't really have a word meaning that we can definitively translate.
Huh. Okay, so if we can't just look them up in a dictionary, what are they doing there? What's their purpose?
And that's the fascinating part. Their main purpose seems to be about demonstrating the Qur'an's miraculous nature, its ijaz.
Miraculous nature. How so?
Think about it. The Qur'an uses the exact same Arabic letters that the most eloquent Arabs, the poets of the time, were using every day. They were masters of the language.
Right.
Yet, with those very same building blocks, they were completely unable to produce anything even close to the Qur'an. Not even a single short surah. It's like a silent, standing challenge.
Wow. So the letters themselves are the proof.
In a way, yes. The aha moment isn't just, ooh, mysterious letters. It's that these ordinary letters, the ones everyone knew and used, became this unbreakable challenge. It showed that even the best human speakers couldn't match it. It's like a divine signature.
That's powerful. The structure itself makes the case for its divine origin.
Absolutely. And you see this pattern again and again. Usually right after these opening letters, there's a statement affirming the Qur'an's greatness. It reinforces that challenge. See these letters. You can't do this.
Which leads us straight into ayat 2. Wal Qur'an al-Hakim. Allah swears by the Qur'an, full of wisdom. Why start with an oath like that, and what does Hakim really mean here?
Okay, so swearing by something immediately elevates it, right? It underlines the absolute truth of whatever comes next. When Allah swears by the Qur'an, it's like saying, pay attention, this is guaranteed.
Okay.
And Hakim, it means it's packed with wisdom, yes, but more than that. It means it puts everything in its proper place. It's decisive, firm in its rulings, in its stories. Nothing is random. It's all perfectly judged and placed.
So incredibly wise and perfectly structured. And after swearing by this wise Quran, what's the immediate truth it confirms?
It goes straight into ayats 3 and 4, confirming the prophet's role. Indeed, you, Muhammad, are among the messengers upon a straight path. This was a direct answer to the disbelievers who kept saying he wasn't really a messenger.
And that phrasing, among the messengers, not just a messenger, is there significance there?
Oh, definitely. It's subtle but important, saying, among the messengers, places Prophet Muhammad within that long-established tradition of prophets throughout history. It's saying this isn't some new weird thing. He's part of the same chain. It normalizes it, makes it undeniable.
Ah, I see. Part of a continuum.
Exactly. And upon a straight path that signifies clarity, truth, no crookedness, it counters any claims that his message was confusing or self-serving. It's inherently just, clear, not bent by personal desires. It's, the balanced path.
That really clarifies the power of those opening verses.
Yeah.
Okay, so with that foundation laid, how do these initial ideas play out across the whole surah? You mentioned the Qur'an generally has like main categories of content.
Yeah, broadly speaking, you find three main types of content in the Quran. There's Aqidah, that's creed, belief, the core doctrines. Then fiqh, religious law, the practical rulings. And qisas, stories, narratives.
Okay, Akida, fiqh, pieces. How does Yasin break down in terms of focus?
Well, Yasin actually has relatively little on fiqh, the legal rulings. It has a moderate amount of qisas, stories, but the vast majority, the real heavy emphasis is on Aqidah, especially the Day of Judgment.
Right, the foundational beliefs again.
Yeah.
So let's touch on the fiqh part first, since it's the smallest. You mentioned Ayats 2021, the story of Habib, the man from the edge of the city. What's the lesson there about Dawah calling people to faith and maybe getting paid for it?
Right, so Habib comes and urges his people to follow the messengers Allah sent, and a key part of his argument is they do not ask you for payment and they are rightly guided.
So does that mean you can't take payment for teaching religion?
Well, that's where the scholarly discussion comes in. While the verse highlights the sincerity of not asking for payment, the majority view among the scholars is that it is permissible to accept compensation, especially if there's a real need, like the teacher has no other income. The key condition is that it shouldn't compromise the sincerity or the message itself.
So it's less a strict rule and more about the principle behind it.
Exactly. The ideal, the highest level of sincerity, is often seen in not taking payment because it removes any doubt about motive. It mirrors how the prophets often worked, supporting themselves. But it's not an absolute ban. The verse really points towards the ideal of prioritizing the message over personal gain. Maybe avoid setting really high fees for sharing knowledge, Keep the intention pure.
That makes sense, a principle of sincerity. Okay, moving to Qisas, the stories. Yasin has this parable of the disbelieving town in Ayats 13:19. Can you walk us through that?
Sure. So Allah sends two messengers to this town. The people reject them. Allah reinforces the message by sending a third messenger.
And they still reject them.
Why? Their main argument was basically, you're only humans like us.
That argument again.
Right. It's this common way of dismissing divine guidance by using a flawed comparison. Like, how can God speak through an ordinary person? It echoes the arrogance of Iblis refusing to bow to Adam because he was made of clay.
It's amazing how persistent that line of thinking is. Did they stop there?
No, they went further. They started blaming the messengers for bad things happening to them, saying they were bad luck.
Wow. Turning it around on the messengers.
Exactly. And the messengers replied essentially, your bad luck is from yourselves, from your own choices, and your rejection of the truth.
This whole idea of bad luck, omens, tathayur you called it, why is that considered shirk, associating partners with Allah?
Because tathayur, believing that a black cat, or a certain day, or a number like 13, or even a house, brings bad luck, gives power to created things that only belongs to Allah. Islam teaches that all good and bad fortune comes only from Allah. Attributing that power to anything else undermines his absolute oneness, his tawhid. That's why it's shirk. The Prophet Muhammad actively pushed back against these superstitions, like deliberately getting married in a month some Arabs thought was unlucky just to show it wasn't true.
So the lesson from this story for people trying to share truth today is?
It's about steadfastness. Expect challenges. Expect accusations. People might blame you for things that aren't your fault, but your job is to stay focused on delivering the message clearly without seeking people's approval. Truth isn't a popularity contest. It stands on its own.
That's a powerful lesson. Okay, so that brings us to Aqidah, the main event in Surah Yasin. Let's start with Tawhid uluhiyya, the idea that worship is only for Allah. How do verses 22, 23, and 60, 61 drive this home?
Right. Tawhid uluhiyya is fundamental. All acts of worship belong exclusively to Allah. Verses 60, 61 are super explicit. Don't worship Satan. He's your clear enemy. Worship me, Allah. This is the straight path.
Very direct.
And then verses 22, 23 give this really rational argument for it. It's phrased as a question. And why should I not worship him who created me and to who you will be returned?
It seems so logical when put that way.
Exactly. It highlights how absurd it is to direct worship or even thanks for blessings like harvests or safety at sea to other beings or imagined deities when Allah alone is the creator and provider. Things like prayer, making dua, supplication, offering sacrifice, these are all acts of worship and they belong only to him.
It really challenges you to think about where true power lies, doesn't it?
Yeah.
If he created us and we return to him, where else would worship go?
Precisely. It cuts through any idea that some other entity, whether it's an idol, a saint, or anything else, has independent power to help or harm. It forces you to trace blessings back to the ultimate source.
Okay, understood. Now, the other huge Akida theme, the Day of Judgment. How does Yasin depict the sheer suddenness of its start?
It's incredibly vivid. In verses 48-50, you have the disbelievers mockingly asking, so when's this promise going to happen?
Yeah, you can almost hear the sarcasm.
Right. And the answer comes immediately. It arrives with one single blast. That's it. Sayhatan wahida. It destroys everyone instantly. No time to write a will, say goodbye, nothing.
Wow, just gone. A single blast. What happens next between that and the resurrection?
Well, after that destruction, there's a period. And authentic hadith tell us that Allah will send down a kind of rain. And from this rain, bodies will regrow. Specifically, it mentions they regrow from a tiny part at the base of the spine, the ajbuz zanab, or tailbone, which is said to be indestructible.
Fascinating detail. And then?
Then comes the second blast. Verses 51-53 describe this. The earth splits open, everyone rises from their graves, and they just start running towards Allah.
What's their reaction?
Total shock and despair, for the disbelievers at least. They cry out, "Woe to us, who woke us up from our sleep?" And the response comes back, confirming this is the promise of the Most Merciful, and the messengers were telling the truth all along.
An awakening to a reality they denied. Okay, what about the accountability, the hisab? How's that described?
It's absolute. Ayat 65 paints this incredible picture. On that day, mouths will be sealed shut.
Sealed, so you can't talk.
You can't lie. You can't make excuses. Instead, your hands will speak. Your feet will testify about everything you did. Your own body becomes the witness against you. No hiding, no spinning the story.
That's sobering. Your own limbs testify.
It really is. And then comes the jazas, the recompense. Ayat 54 makes it clear. No soul will be wronged in the slightest. You get back exactly what you earned through your deeds. Imagine the regret for those who wasted their lives, and you can't even deny what you did.
Absolutely. It also makes you think about the value of good deeds.
Immensely so. It highlights the value of remembering Allah. Those simple phrases like Subhanallah, Bihamdi, Subhanallah, the P, and glory be to Allah and praise Him. Glory be to Allah the Great. They're described as light on the tongue, but incredibly heavy on the scales on that day.
A practical takeaway there. So after the judgment, the two destinations, heaven and hell.
Exactly. Heaven, Jannah, is described in verses 55-59. People are just busy enjoying themselves in pure delight. They're with their spouses, resting in cool shades, having any fruit or anything they desire.
Sounds blissful.
And the ultimate honor, receiving salam, peace, directly from Allah Himself. For women, the understanding is they'll be with their righteous husbands, or if they didn't have one or he wasn't righteous, they'll have companions, often described as bidadada, in paradise, and everyone, men and women, will be perfected in beauty.
And the alternative?
Hell.
Jahannam. Verses 63-64 are stark. It's simply presented, this is the hellfire which you were promised. Enter it today because you used to deny. A direct, unavoidable consequence for disbelief and mocking the warnings.
A very clear contrast.
Right.
Okay, that covers the main themes really well. But before we finish, you mentioned some clarifications about Yasin are needed. Popular beliefs versus authentic teachings. Yes, this is really important. You hear a lot of specific virtues attributed to Surah Yasin, right? Like it being the heart of the Qur'an in a literal sense, or reciting it once equals reciting the whole Qur'an 10 times, things like that.
Those are common beliefs.
The thing is, when Hadith scholars examine the narrations that mention these specific quantifiable virtues, almost all of them are classified as daif, weak, or even maudu, fabricated or forged.
Fabricated.
Yeah, and it's crucial. We absolutely cannot base our beliefs or actions on fabricated hadiths. Now, is reciting Yasin good? Of course. Reciting any part of the Quran is incredibly virtuous and brings reward. But we should only attribute specific virtues or rewards if they are confirmed by authentic, reliable hadith. Otherwise, we stick to the general reward for Quran recitation.
That's a really vital point. Stick to what's authenticated. Okay, shifting to some broader life lessons that come up around Yasin. The impact of the company we keep.
Definitely. It's a recurring theme in Islam, and discussions around Yasin often touch on it. Who you hang out with profoundly influences you, your beliefs, your actions, sometimes without you even realizing it.
So what's the guidance there?
Well, Islam encourages being good and just to everyone, non-Muslims included. But when it comes to close confidants, the Arabic term is batona, like your inner circle. People you share deep secrets with, the advice is generally not to take those who don't share your core faith as that kind of intimate friend.
Why is that?
Because of the potential for subtle influence over time, maybe slowly shifting your own values or priorities away from your faith. It's about protecting your core beliefs.
So it's about being mindful of influence in those really close relationships.
Exactly. And the broader lesson is just the huge importance of choosing your friends wisely. Look for people who guide you towards good, who help you stay away from sin. There are analogies used, like a Muslim should be like a date palm beneficial in every part, or like a bee. Eats what is pure, produces what is pure honey, and doesn't harm where it lands.
Those are great images. Be a positive influence, seek positive influence.
Pretty much, always strive to bring good and surround yourself with those who do the same. It reminds us that choosing the right path might sometimes feel lonely, but good company and strong conviction make all the difference.
A really practical point. Okay, one last clarification.
Sure.
Intercession, shafa'at, especially regarding family or friends who died upon shirk.
Yes, this comes up often. Intercession, where someone pleads to Allah on behalf of another on the Day of Judgment, is real. But it has conditions. The most crucial one is that it's only granted for Muslims.
So someone who died associating partners with Allah.
Someone who died upon shirk, unfortunately, is not eligible for anyone's intercession. Not from prophets, not from angels, not from righteous people.
That's very definitive.
It is, and it contrasts sharply with other sins. A Muslim might die having committed major sins, but if they died fundamentally believing in Tawheed, then intercession is possible for them. For example, a child who died young and entered paradise might intercede for their believing parents. This just highlights how incredibly grave shirk is. It's the one sin Allah states He will not forgive if someone dies persisting in it without repenting.
Because it strikes at the very foundation of faith, His oneness.
Exactly.
This deep dive has definitely shed a lot of light on Surah Yasin, taking us way beyond just reciting the words.
That was the hope, that you, the listener, now have a richer appreciation for it, understanding its context, its opening challenge, the core messages about Allah's oneness and the Day of Judgment, and those really practical lessons for how we live.
So as we wrap up, here's something to maybe mull over. We've heard about the clear guidings in Surah Yasin, the straight path, and the fact that we'll be held accountable for everything. So the question for you is, how will you take these lessons and apply them? How do you make sure your life, your actions, especially those private moments when no one else sees, truly align with sincerity and belief?